What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Tesla Geek Show. I am Anwar Beck.
And I'm Eli, and on this week's episode of the Tesla Geek Show, this is our official post-Battery Day episode. It's coming to you a little bit late because we had so much going on, and we have no one better to join us for this special Battery Day episode than the princess of the Tesla community, K10.
All right, guys, this week's episode of the Tesla Geek Show is brought to you by our good friends at Evanex. For those of you guys that live outside of the United States, remember that they actually do ship internationally. My cousin who lives in Kazakhstan in Aktau ordered a Model X from Europe and ordered a bunch of amazing stuff from Evanex, and they like express ship it with DHL. So for those of you outside the United States, you want your Tesla swag and accessories, make sure to go to evanex.com. Thank you guys for sponsoring the podcast.
All right. Without further ado, it's time for the post-Battery Day episode of the Tesla Geek Show. Let us welcome, for the first time, K10.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you back. So one of the things about this episode, a lot of people aren't going to know. Normally we start this episode at the hour, like on the dot, like at 1:05. We spent the last 40 minutes just catching up because all of us haven't talked since Battery Day, which was only a couple weeks ago, but it feels like forever because we had such a good time all connecting and all finally being in person for the first time in 2020 as fellow members of the Tesla community. K10, how you doing? How's it been since you've been back?
It's been great. It was a really great, the Battery Day was really fun, and just, I don't know, things have been going really well. All
right, let's talk about Battery Day. Let's start with, what was your highlight? Of all the things you think back on Battery Day, what was the highlight for you?
The slideshow when they showed the compact car was pretty cool. When he broke up how much the cost reduction and savings they're gonna make, it was amazing. The confidence that Drew and Elon had between each other about the whole event and the batteries was pretty reassuring. The whole thing was exciting to me, and I think a lot of people didn't get it, but a lot of people who were there did get it, that were part of the Tesla community. Maybe the analysts didn't, but it was pretty exciting.
I'm not going to make any special credits here. I didn't get half of what I was seeing, to be honest. And especially, so one of the problems too was my car was right in the front row, which was awesome, no complaints.
Yeah.
But all the slides were not actually loading into our Teslas, right? Because for everybody watching, we were sitting in this giant parking lot of Teslas and a drive-in movie theater, and the audio came through great, but a lot of the slides didn't push through to our screens. And right where the projector screen was above us that I actually had the slides on it was right through the roof piece of the Model Y that isn't glass that I was in. So we couldn't see the slides. But I do got to say, you're absolutely right that the confidence they had on stage and that they knew what they were talking about and that they had the tech to back up their numbers was absolutely insane.
It was really good.
Before I give my favorite part of the event, Anwar Beck, you watched it live from a live stream watching party. What was yours?
Mm-hmm. You know what I noticed? I was like, dude, not only the chemistry between Drew and Elon, but Drew got swole since Cybertruck. I actually hung out with him quite a bit at Cybertruck, got to know him pretty well. And I was like, dude, is this the same guy? It seemed I guess these are the small minor things that I was paying attention to. Elon seemed like he kind of is looking healthier. He lost some weight. Drew is getting svelte a little bit. But yeah, man, it was just, it was a crazy event.
I got to tell you, for me, my favorite part of the unveil, and I kid you not, was the excitement in Elon's voice and on his face when he realized that Gally was the guy in the audience asking him the question.
Yes, that was so cute. Sorry,
I went back to watch the video to see if they had Elon on camera to see his face, because you heard it in his voice. And he's like, oh, hey, Gally. He was just so stoked that it was Gally. Unfortunately, at that point, when Elon said that, the camera was pointed at the cars. So you didn't get to see him. But I heard it. We all heard it real time. It was adorable how excited that Elon was that Gally was the one there asking him that question. Literally, that was the highlight for me of the event. And that's even including the fact that I actually got to ask Elon a question about having full-on camper mode in the Cybertruck. I was still more excited about Elon's response to Gally.
That was pretty cool.
Shout out to the Filchi gang, G and J Filchi.
G and J Filchi. I hope to earn my Filchi stripe someday, and my shirt, which, by the way, you have one. I'm jealous of. Gally promised me one, and he definitely left without giving me one, and I don't think that was an accident. Did you get one, Marbeck?
No, dude. K10 is the only one I got it.
I have
She's special, dude.
Gally, we're protesting you now.
Too. Yeah,
the hats are dope. Oh, did you see that new gold pin that he released? You saw this? Oh, I want that gold pin.
I have. Oh wait, so I have one of the little lightnings. I don't have the gold one. I have like the purple pink one.
I got the one with like glitter. It looks dope.
Those look dope.
All right, we got to jump on the Filchi game now. Back to Battery Day. So that event, I will say, attending that event, a lot of people can't really appreciate what it was like to actually attend an event right in the middle of a pandemic in the heart of Alameda County, which, as we know, is not too super friendly with Tesla, or they hadn't been. So K10, tell us about what your experience was like from the first person of like all the restrictions they put in place to try and stay compliant while still having that event.
So we lined up outside, beforehand, because, you want to, usually, like I went to last year's shareholder, and you're talking about Drew, and that's when Drew was introduced on stage, and he looked completely different last year on stage, and his confident level. He seems like a confident guy, but compared to this year. But we lined up outside. It was great to see everybody. Like Anwar was there, Eli was there. Like people who weren't even like getting in were coming around and greeting everybody. But Tesla was very cautious. They kept on reminding us 6 feet apart, have your masks on. They were passing out water and sunscreen so we wouldn't overheat or we wouldn't get sick. They had things pretty organized, and I think I tried counting the numbers. It looked like maybe 175 people were in the line. Like I was counting by 20. So, but we get in, and they still have us. They have like spray painted like stand here, stand here, stand here as we're waiting to get to the table. And then you get to the table, and then they usher you. Supposedly, I went to a different table than everyone else. I went to the VIP table. They kind of ushered me out of line with Vincent. So we were standing with Kim Paquette in line, but then they took us to the cars, which we're isolated, which was really cool. I did hop in Omar's car because for 10 to 15 minutes my audio went out, and I'm like, screw this, like you can't even see the I couldn't even hear like what was going on, even though if I uploaded on my phone the audio, I know it stunk. So I'm like, I'm just getting in Omar's car, and then like the lady came by, and I'm like, we traveled together because we hung out together, so it all worked out. So yeah.
So I tried the same exact thing. John from Tesla Owner Silicon Valley, we were in line together. His car was like way further back. I had a car in the front row. I was like, bro, just get in my car. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, dude, come on, get in my car. So he gets in my car. He's there for like 60 seconds. And then the documentary crew sets up their camera right in front of my Model Y. Tight shot, filming right in on us. They come in and say, hey, we want to interview you about this event and include you in like the intro for the documentary. Do you mind doing that? And I was like, oh crap, okay. So they start recording, and then the Tesla people run up, and they're like, nope. They're like, he's like, I'm like, he's got to get out of the car. And they made him reshoot the entire thing. And basically it became clear that because I was in the front row and there was like all the media, like the only video they had capturing was there, that we weren't going to be able to get away with it. So we couldn't hang out together, which I was bummed because I had to sit there at like an event that I'm like geeking out. And the only way I could share that with people was like getting on Twitter or like FaceTiming people, because like no one could be there next to me. Did you find that too? That you like got excited about things and you were like mad that there was no one like close to you to share in it?
Yeah, like Gally was directly behind me, and then like Omar was right next to him, kitty corner. So like I was running back to their cars and like talking to them, and I was all excited. Like, yeah, like it was hard because I wanted to talk to people. Like I was texting people in the car.
Right. I probably missed half the presentation communicating via the internet to other people at the event about the event. I was kitty corner to Ryan McCaffrey of Ride the Lightning. And we got out of our car like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times to like geek out about what we were saying, and kept getting yelled at by staff because there was like social distancing, or they didn't want us in our cars, or like one of us didn't have our masks on, or like, oh, here's the one I got in trouble for the most. If you're in your car and you didn't have, if you rolled down the window, you had to have the mask on. I was like, I can't do this. I'm in the car. Like, I could have the mask off, but if I roll down the window, mask has to come back on. And look, this wasn't Tesla staff being jerks. This was Tesla trying to stay compliant with Alameda's requirements. This is a nationally televised event. I mean, like 2 million people were watching the live stream. I get why they had to do it, but it was just like, I felt like I was constantly short-circuited trying to actually like meet their needs because I just want to connect with all my fellow Tesla geeks.
Yes. No, I was like, every time Elon would do something cool, I mean, like we were honking our horn. It was like applause, like the cars were applauding the creator. But I was like putting my hand, like my thumb out the window and like, woohoo! Like, and the lady comes by, and she didn't have a mask on. And she's like, you need a mask on. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a cool story I got.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, can't give any too specifics here, but there actually was a plan to actually have the cars clap, make a clapping sound when we hit the horn honking. Yeah, there was. But ultimately, they decided that the budget that it was going to cost in software development to do that didn't make sense. But that was something they did consider. And I think that would have been cool as hell, especially knowing that we're going to get the option for the sound effect of the clip clop, the coconut horse hooves from Monty Python.
That's my idea. He said yes to.
He did. And now Snake Jazz. So they owe us Snake Jazz and coconut horse hoops.
And the goats, I asked him again, I'm like, are you going to make our horns sound like goats still? He's like, yes, that's coming. And I'm like, oh yeah, your horse is going to, or your car is going to sound like a goat when you lay on the horn.
So what did you guys think of the sexy cars lineup at the front of the stage? Had any of you guys
cars?
Yeah, I guess I'm assuming all of us have seen the cars previously. Especially
they were at the shareholder.
Cybertruck, ATV,
Cybertruck, Model Y,
Roadster. Yeah.
Right.
But I guess like in the daylight, did it look any different to you guys or just like any?
The Roadster paint, I swear that they applied that color lab technique. It looked, the depth of it, like some of the, like it looked better than it, not that it didn't look good at the last shareholder meeting, but it had a lot of depth to it. I was like, I think they've been playing with this.
My take was on the Cybertruck. The angles on the Cybertruck in daylight were so sharp. I thought I thought the car was gonna stab me just for looking at it from 10 feet away.
That's
seriously
funny.
The thing looks like literally it looks like you could cut yourself on this thing. That's how sharp it looks. Honestly, I was more afraid of the car stabbing me than I was Elon's like secret former like special ops bodyguard, which by the way, so this was super unsettling. I was in the front row and this guy was like 15 feet away from me. So anytime I would like make a movement or roll down my window, this guy fucking like laser beamed in on me with the face of like, I'm going to kill you if you move. And I've never, like, somebody mean mugging me has never scared me in my entire life. But this guy could clearly kill me before I could react if he wanted to. And he looked like he was going to try. Holy crap. But I was still more scared of the Cybertruck. That's how sharp it looked. The way the angles converge sitting there in sunlight. Probably one of the biggest takes, though, I got, too, is a friend from Unplugged, Ben, one of the founders of Unplugged, he was telling me that he actually thinks that Cybertruck is going to be able to be completely pressure sealed. And I think we know that to be the case because it's going to be a Mars rover. Like it looks more like a Mars rover than an Earth vehicle. But he actually thinks the vehicle could be used as a submarine. And
Elon did. Yeah, I think you're right. Because he did at the Cybertruck unveiling, he put that James Bond vehicle in there and he did other things like that. So, I mean, he didn't need, what is it that they usually put on the cars? Like I don't know, like a pipe outside of it. Like obviously he didn't have any of that kind of rig, did it? Because you don't need an exhaust system. It's not internal combustion. So
that's a good call. I totally forgot that they had that James Bond car right when you walked in at the Cybertruck. I completely forgot about that.
That was one of the design inspirations.
And he said last year at shareholders, some kid got up last minute and asked, please, like, are you going to make like a James Bond, like submersive vehicle? And he's like, yeah, we got an idea. We're working on stuff. Like, so that's totally, you're right, Eli.
Yeah, again, this wasn't me. This was Ben from Unplugged who suggested this. But I'll tell you what, when I saw it in person, with how tight that car is put together, it looks like it could probably end up being a damn submarine.
We're all getting Cybertrucks
here. Underwater. The fact that a car could be submersible like that, insane. You can't even call this thing a car. It's a goddamn stainless steel bulletproof tank.
We do all have
Yeah.
reservations on Cybertruck, right?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
The night of. I think we were all there, right? We were all at Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Dude, I missed the unveiling. Starman replaced me at some point in the night, and I missed out on all the fun stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, I was there for the pre-party with you guys. That was a good time.
I think, yeah.
How many
That was
events
really
have we
good.
all
Did you
hung
guys
out
get a
at?
ride?
I can't even.
Did you guys
keep
get a
track.
ride in the Cybertruck? Ooh. Cybertruck was my first event, so. Well, no,
Oh, really?
Shareholder was my first event. The 2019 Shareholder is where the magic all happened.
My first event was Model 3 before the semi.
Yes.
So I think I started at Model 3,
Wow.
I feel like.
That sounds right. So yours was Roadster. So did you guys all? Or did any of you guys ride in the Cybertruck? I know you didn't. You
I
could have.
did.
Mm-mm.
You were off.
I was too busy.
You were hanging out
Well-
with David Dobrik, which I hate you for because me and David Dobrik should totally be friends.
Yeah.
He's obsessed
Oh,
with his
no.
flamethrower even more than I am, but you were off hanging out with him.
David and then Drew was actually like Drew's wife. We're all hanging out, dude. I was too busy, like just enjoying myself with some of the executives and just like, you know me, dude. I'm kind of the social butterfly. So in the midst of all this stuff, Eli is like, you know, Mr. Business. I think you were like in the front of the line. You were like one of the first people to ride in Cybertruck.
So my ride on the Cybertruck, I actually got hooked up, by the way. I got towards the end of the event. I was like, I went and talked to somebody, and I was like, hey, look, like, I've been here this whole thing. I waited in line for 2 hours. I had to leave because my friend Starman needed to like take photos with people. So like, is there anything you can do? And actually, like, I was actually like just taken right to the front. That's the only reason I got a line. Like, I even got to cut right in front
Wow.
of media. That's the only reason I got a ride, which I'm glad I did because I got inside that car and I was like, holy crap. This thing is as mean on the inside as the outside. Like, it was comfortable, but it is Spartan as hell. It makes the Model 3 not feel minimalist. Like, the dash looks like a giant piece of marble with just a screen sitting on it. And I was like, what the heck? And it's really spacious. And there's this angle at the roof that, like, when you're inside of it, it doesn't feel like every other Tesla. Like, it's very different.
It doesn't feel like any other truck that you've been inside, too, a big truck. Like, it's huge.
No.
I felt like a little kid in it. I'm like, I need a booster seat. Like, it swallowed me. It was awesome.
Which variant are you going to order?
I got the dual motor.
Same here. I was thinking about upgrading to the Tri, but I now just ordered Plaid. So if I have a
Oh my
Plaid
gosh.
Model S, which is going to be $150K, and I might have to sell a couple organs
Dude,
for, dual motor
realize-
Cybertruck is going to have to be enough.
The Tesla geeks are going to have all 3 Plaid cars, starting from Cybertruck Plaid, Model S Plaid, and the Roadster.
Hey, guess what, guys? We have a very special
Nice.
guest today on the Tesla Geek Show. Come here, sweetheart. You asked me. She wants me to open up some more time on her iPad.
Hey!
Say hi. They say
Hey,
hi to everyone
cutie.
back in K10. No, you're shy?
Aw.
She's
She's
got
part of
things
the
to do.
Tesla Geek Show.
I told you. She just shows up.
So cute.
She her iPad has a time limiter because you probably shouldn't let your kid watch YouTube all day infinitely. So she needed me to reset the password. You want to say bye to the Tesla geeks? All right, have fun, sweetheart. Anyway, yeah, no, the Tesla Geek Show is going to have all of the is going to have owned all of the Teslas at one point. So my plan actually is I'm going to sell my Performance Raven Model S like summer next year. And I'm going to rent a Model Y until Plaid comes out because I feel like the difference of once Plaid comes out, I could easily see the Raven and the P100D falling on resale by like 10 grand.
It's a good
So I might as well
Wow.
spend a couple thousand. And I'd love to experience a Y for a bit. And the Y is going to be killer for car camping. Y has even
Yeah.
more space than the S does. And so I'm going to rent a Y for a couple months while I wait for the Plaid to ship.
Nice. I like the Y I was in. What was your configuration with your Y that you were in for the event?
It was just so it's interesting. So the Y at the Model Y unveil is not the same Y that they shipped. And I say that, and I actually improved it. It was very clear that the Y at the unveil was just like a Model 3 that was like modded. The Y that they shipped that you buy now as a customer feels significantly bigger than the car I took a test drive in.
Oh, it is, dude.
Interesting.
Which is an improvement, which is great because like no automaker ever unveils a car and makes it better. This was actually the one case where what Tesla unveiled was actually not exactly what they shipped, but what they shipped was better than what they unveiled. So like no one's going to complain about that.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it was a dual motor, and it was just a 5-seater because no one has yet to see the 7-seater.
What colors? Did you have a white interior? What color was the exterior?
Blue with black interior was what we test drove.
I like blue with white. White interiors are just.
My car,
I love
my
white
car is
interior.
blue with white. I have the blue exterior. I've wrapped it in the brushed steel. The interior is white. That is the way to go. My Plaid Model S is blue with white interior. I think, Anwar Beck, didn't you come up with a name for it for me?
Which one?
Oh, it's going to be the, oh, sorry. No, that was Frost. So I got the name of my next Starship. It's going to be the Starfighter.
Oh,
Nice.
I've had the Geek
That sounds
Ship, the
really
Starship.
good.
Now it's time for the Starfighter. Because this thing is going to be a weapon of like assassin level destruction and strikeability.
Nice. That is really. Who's getting the Roadster of the two of you? Did one of you win one? Oh, nice. And you won an X too, right? Nice. Okay, never mind. David Dubrovnik just he just executed all those threes, right? All 5 different threes that people won.
oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, he did some
the
kind of like
Dobrik's. Okay,
yeah.
Registered.
I try to sign
Okay.
up for that as well. David's actually like such a nice guy, dude. I think Raina or like Elon's
Raina,
secretary introduced me to him. Like, he is such a fanboy. Like, we were just geeking out so hard on all things Tesla. I didn't realize he was such a. I mean, he knew quite a bit about Tesla, which I was pleasantly surprised.
Dude, I want to kick it with David. Could you imagine the type of trouble that him and Starman could get into with a flamethrower?
Yeah.
I
The
want to play
other-
for flamethrower.
The other epic YouTuber that made an impression on me was Casey Neistat. I met him during the boring. Oh, you and I were together, Eli. Remember? Praveen introduced us, and what's his name? Casey. Literally, I just met the dude. He grabs my phone. He goes, "Hey, let's shoot a video together." And I'm like,
Wow.
it was like a lot, right? Like he's just like full of energy. Like he's basically like what you see on YouTube, but like super nice dude.
That
No,
is
Casey
really
was
cool.
awesome. Dude, that copy of The Adventures of Starman you had me give him is in his studio, and you see it in the background in all his videos now. That was like episode 1 back in the day. Tell you what, that was an epic night, though, because that was the night that I met and began my friendship from Dan at What's Inside. Dan is like
Nice.
literally like my favorite YouTuber guy, the most awesome guy ever. By the way, Dan, congratulations. He's on the way out right now to Baltimore to go pick up his long-range Tesla Model S. And he kind of filled me in on this video that he's got coming. I can't say anything about it. I promise there'll be no spoilers. But so Dan sold his Model S and X a while back because he lives in a place that he has to drive from pretty far out to the city. There's no V3 supercharging. Supercharging's far apart. The car doesn't charge super fast on V2. And it would take him an extra hour and a half to get where he was going having a Tesla. So we actually sold it and went back to a gas car for a while because it was a huge inconvenience for his life waiting for Tesla to come out with larger range batteries. Well, he ordered Plaid immediately. And then he realized that, like, okay, Plaid probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but he looked at the long range Model S and said, oh my God, this has got 400 miles. It can use V3. So he just bought a long range Model S Plus. And he's going to go pick it up in a couple days. I think he just got on an airplane like a little bit ago. He's headed out to Baltimore to go get it. And he's got an epic video coming of something he's going to do with it that I think the Tesla community is absolutely going to love. But I can't say anything more than that, or maybe he'll unfriend me.
Nice. I've only seen a few of his videos, but his new house is really nice.
His house is amazing.
I do like the white with the black. Yeah.
Dan, we were actually supposed to be out there in May. We had our flights booked. I was going to drive to the airport in Utah to pick Anwar Beck up. We were supposed to go to his house to go hang out for a few days, record a podcast together. Of course, that's right when the pandemic hit. So, Dan, if you happen to be watching this, stop dodging us. Let us know when we come out and hang out because I think it's going to be
Nice.
a great time.
Very cool.
I would love to be there, Dan, to help you break through that new statue that's in your backyard.
Is he in southern Utah, right? I think I
Yeah.
don't. He announces it in his video.
St. George.
Right? So,
St. George.
yeah. Okay, I thought it was Moab, St. George. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
hot. Very hot down there.
Mm-hmm.
We could use another Tesla event. He said that Battery Day and Plaid Day would be separate events, and we did Battery Day, but I think Plaid kind of was thrown in that. But maybe Plaid Day, Snake Charger Day, because he was talking about the Snake Charger. So
Look,
they've got something going.
I so agree that we need more Tesla events. I did an interview for a magazine in Europe. The guy who runs Tesla Owners Club Belgium, he's like the main like editor of it. And one of the things that I was commenting of, like, I'm really gonna miss the era of Tesla unveils. Because like all of these events individually are like experiences and memories like of a lifetime. And to have been at like literally all of them for like 3 years and see like the coolest products ever made be unveiled and showing that excitement with the community, like it's kind of like we have to appreciate that like Tesla has unveiled all of their major products now. Like their car lineup through like new cars through 2023. We have Model 2 left. There'll be some new tech, but like the era of the Tesla unveil is like it's over, right? So like it's like appreciate everything that we had, and if any more happen, like do not take this for granted. And if anyone gets the chance to go, like who hasn't, just know how special this is, because like a few years from now, Tesla's going to be like Apple is, and these guys are going to be completely unreachable and completely untouchable. And like you're not like no one's going to be able to get into these things. You're not going to be able to buy your way into these things. Tesla's going to invite who they want to have. There's people who support him from the beginning and keep supporting him that are going to be there. There's going to be certain people that are investors that are in, but like they're not opening up the doors. They're honestly tightening them more and more. So like if you ever get a chance to be part of one of these things, I don't care where you live, how much inconvenience it's going to be, where you got to fly from, got to get a sitter for your kids. You're going to regret it because there's not many of these left.
Completely agree. And that compact, it's going to be designed in Giga Berlin and Giga Shanghai, and I wonder if they'd have unveils over there for the European and the Chinese crowds, which they probably will.
That would make sense, and that's a great question because they've never had a unveil that wasn't at Fremont or the design studio or on the runway next to the design studio.
Yeah,
like for Semi and Roadster. So if they, I mean, I guess we're gonna have to fly to Germany, guys. I don't care if we're waiting, trying to sneak in line, like we're ordered and disciplined, yeah.
And it sounds like
K10. You'll fly to Germany?
Oh yes, I want to go on a tour of Giga Berlin. Like,
same.
Yes.
Dude, that's definitely happening.
There's people in the community that have already told us they're gonna throw a party. We're all gonna be there. It's gonna be a big event. Like people are ready. Like we're gonna go.
We're going. We have to go. Let's time our flights so we can all get there together.
You guys saw from Elon's recent tweets, just like in the last couple of days, that it sounds like the Model 2 is already the $25,000 passenger car is kind of like the European or the Berlin model. And it sounds like the one in Shanghai will actually be something different. That'll be the Model 2. And then the 25K car that he still hasn't unveiled but had the veil on top of it, that's something maybe even smaller than the Model 2, right? I think Elon alluded to that.
It's hard to say. He was talking about a hatchback version that would be designed in Berlin in a tweet at one point. And it sounds like, obviously, they've kind of done a rough draft of what a compact version would be. And it's going to be a $25,000 car. But he did say, I mean, like kind of what you're saying, I think it sounds like he's going to throw it to the design studios, which he's going to have in Giga Berlin and Giga Shanghai. And he probably will let them make ownership of that. I mean, because they're having a whole design and engineering studio in Giga Berlin, which is just awesome.
I got that take as well. He's going to have local designers and local engineers design a car for their market. Mm-hmm. And it's actually pretty smart that it's like, this car was Chinese designed by Chinese for Chinese. This car was German designed by Germans for Europe, right? So like, I think it's genius what he's doing of like going right into the heart of legacy auto. Right in the heart of the 80s and Volkswagen, and he's just gonna like tear them apart from the inside. It's so savage. Like these people have to be. I mean, behind the scenes, if these people aren't freaking out, then they're stupid. Like, and they're probably not freaking out as much as they should be, because I feel like when it comes to Battery Day, half the world didn't even get it. Like I even sent out a tweet during like Tesla stock's gonna crash tomorrow because nobody has any idea what they're doing right now. And I said this to somebody who didn't even understand half of it.
Yeah,
I just knew it was a really big deal. So yeah, like what, Anwar Beck, you're really close to this. Like, you come from a region who actually results in producing some of the minerals necessary for this. A lot of people in the community know your story, connection with Kazakhstan, how you brought the superchargers there, how there's some future for Tesla potentially in that country with some other things going on. Tell us what you saw that was so significant out of all Battery Day and all the added information Elon has given us since then.
So I think for the most part, the prediction episode that we had, I was more or less spot on because I talked about a bigger cell coming, and I basically said I don't think there's going to be a revolutionary technology. There's not going to be this million-mile battery. It's basically they figured out they brought it in-house battery production. Number one, I remember saying that and saying they've figured out a faster, cheaper way of doing it, and that's 90% of the message. I feel like, right? Like I think I nailed it, like for the most part. And the other prediction that I made, I remember saying the Roadrunner pilot project that's going on in California, that's just a small pilot test pilot line that's going to be expanded. I wasn't thinking Berlin, by the way. I was thinking it's actually going to be a Giga Texas. It sounds like the pace is, again, like I said, pace of innovation is insane. Berlin is actually going to be the first like real line of the Roadrunner 4680 cells. And then 100% Texas is going down that route because it's going to be a Homo Cybertruck, right?
Yeah,
And the
and we know
semi.
Cybertruck has to have these
And the
cells. That's
semi.
the only
And the
way they get
semi.
that performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, Texas is going to be like Terra, Texas. It's going to be a powerhouse of that battery. I think it's going to be the location that they make the majority of that battery. I
What's
totally agree with
what's
you.
what's crazy is, I mean, like a high level summary is they figured out a way, and we've all tracked this dollar per kilowatt hour price. You know, like Ark Invest, they're good friends of the Tesla Geek Show. Um, they talk about how like over the last decade, Tesla through sheer like mass production of vehicles. I think Ark calls it Wright's law instead of Moore's law,
Mhm.
which is basically instead of just x-axis being time, it's cumulative volume production of a certain product and price being on the x-axis. So as you produce much more of a thing, it gets cheaper and smaller and faster and all that, right? So
Mhm.
a decade ago, when Tesla first started producing lithium ion batteries for EVs, we were in that $1,000 per kilowatt hour price range, right? So what they've done over the last decade through bringing on Model S, Model X, and then mass producing Model 3 is they've dropped it to right around like, I want to say like $140, $120 per kilowatt hour. And Elon basically, or Elon and Tesla, I definitely want to give credit to the brilliant people surrounding Elon and Tesla. They basically said, dude, we need like a step change. We need a 10x. We can't just incrementally keep doing this. So what they did is basically reduce the cost. I think they said like almost 60%, like 56% dollar per kilowatt hour production
Yes.
cost. And a lot of it they just said is like incremental gains in 5-6 different areas. They mentioned 5 key areas. It's cell design, it's cell factory, anode materials, cathode materials, and then finally the cell vehicle integration, which is how to use the batteries to like reinforce the structure of the vehicle and make it even safer. And all that combined, this is where I basically like, if I needed to explain it in one sentence, Tesla was before Battery Day was about 4 or 5 years ahead of competition. After Battery Day, they just announced they're about a decade, like legit, like 8 to 10 years ahead.
They're setting the
And,
pace for sure.
and Tesla's now like Tesla, I think now has a path to becoming a $2 to $3 trillion company from battery technology alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was still like immediately I was like, okay, let's go stonks. Like it's time. Like I was like, if whatever hesitation you have about Tesla, the fact that you could even get in at a $400 billion valuation is now crazy low, considering that like again, if they were a battery company alone and they just unveiled this, their stock would be shooting through the roof. They're a
Mm-hmm.
fully
Yeah.
integrated company who's making battery for like the best selling electric vehicle ever made and the most profitable vehicle ever made at time of sell. So like, I mean, it's stunning what we saw. Like they just wrecked the battery industry. Like they're going to
Yeah.
be like one of the largest battery producers in their pilot plant.
They're pulling the weight. They're the ones that they're pacing the battery industry, and they're like, look, we need to go faster. So we're going to bring you on board and we're going to make it ourselves. And we need you to keep up with us now, which is
And,
just wild.
and people compare like Steve Jobs to Elon Musk. And here's the difference. Steve Jobs came out and they unveiled to us the iPhone. Elon
Yeah.
Musk just came out and showed you how to make the iPhone before he's even delivered it.
Good point.
Right. And yeah. Yeah, well, and he has the prototypes that actually are working prototypes.
I know, but I mean, like, imagine, but like, yes, I'm not taking that away from him, but I'm saying what Elon did is such a big brain play, and that he just showed
Yeah.
you what technology you need to develop and roughly where you need to head if you want to even be competitive.
Yeah,
He didn't wait,
that's
like, he could have
real.
waited and, like, just been stayed silent, and all of a sudden they're ramping out this car, then it's just a thermonuclear bomb on the industry, and everybody goes bankrupt. Instead, he actually showed them what they need to do to survive and compete. And that's because a lot of people don't understand that, like, when they talk about Tesla's mission is to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy, this is one of those moments that for a business as Tesla, it did not benefit them to open up the curtain and show them what they've done and how they went and did it. From a
Right.
competitive, just a pure profit standpoint, the best thing they could have done is stayed silent and all of a sudden hit the market and put everyone else out of business. But instead, they're like, hey, here's where we're going to be in the next few years. If you want to even exist, you're going to have to go after this model that we did. It's
Yeah.
incredible. I've
If
never
I
seen something like this in history.
if I
He's
had to
created the
be
marathon.
if I had to be super critical of Tesla in any way, shape, or form, about the only question that I had afterwards is the timing. I'm like, why did we even do this? Regarding to what you just said, Eli, like I felt like a better strategy would have been wait another year and a half and say, hey, we're about to go ahead and do this, and just kind of like surprise people. They didn't need to unveil it a year and a half ahead of time. And then the potential Osborne effect of like potential Model 3 and Model Y, you know, clients right now, customers being like, well, maybe I'll wait. Like, because they can clearly tell at least a year and a half, 2 years from now, there's about to be a step change that's significant. So if you're trying to buy a car for the next decade that you want to drive to the ground, if it's me, I would wait. And that's the only negative. I'm like, I honestly didn't understand what, I guess you want to give your investors, again, it's like predominantly for investors, people that are thinking about long-term where Tesla's going. So Elon kind of gave us a roadmap, which is amazing. But from a competition standpoint, I was just like, why do we have battery day? Especially like during COVID, the way they did it, like, I was just like, it didn't seem like
Mhm.
it was necessary.
Well, and for investor relations, like Galley went through the battery line himself, and he did state that some of these investors completely just didn't get it. These analysts are not even doing their homework. They just don't understand it. So, like, I think for people like us, it was great, but for the general average Joe, like, they didn't get it at all. Like, and it is interesting. Like, what edge do they get by releasing all this information?
And I think there's a clip like late into the presentation, it's like a 20-second clip where quite literally, it wasn't Drew, it was one of the other guys said, look, the purpose of this presentation was that we're showing a strategically integrated model for other players in the battery industry to decrease their cost of production at scale. And that it was like literally that was it. They were showing the
Mm,
roadmap for other people to help make EVs cheaper outside of Tesla
interesting.
It's
because
almost like they
we
let,
can't produce enough batteries ourselves to supply the whole world. We're not even going to make enough to supply ourselves. So if you're going to actually accelerate the transition to sustainable energy, you assholes have to hurry up and jump on board with the tech that we invented for you. Otherwise, the world's going to keep burning fossil fuels and we're all going to drown on the same ship together. What does Elon
They're
always say?
playing
What's the
poker.
benefit of standing on the top deck of the Titanic?
I, what I'm picturing is Elon doing all the homework and then letting people around him cheat off of him, basically.
That's what it feels like.
Yes, yes, yes.
Like
He's
legit.
like, look,
I explained to my friends and family that about, like after I got back from California, they're all like, okay, like explain this to me, like, but simply, because it is hard to technically try to, because all of us, dude, we're like I said, 11 out of 10. So we live and breathe this stuff. We live in this community. We understand the nitty gritty details technically. But I was trying to explain to people that like Elon on a scale of 1 to 10, he did kind of like play this up a little bit. Battery day, I think the
yes,
investors, the market was expecting like a 10 out of 10, right? This 1,000,000 mile battery. There's rumors of solid state. Remember I told you, Eli, I was like, it's none of
yes,
this. Like, there's no way. There's not going to be a step change because the last decade they've been incrementally 5%, like increases like in technology every year. That's all it was in reductions. So basically, like Elon kind of like made it seem like he's going to do a 10 out of 10. The general public and even like the market, these analysts thought it was like a 6 or 7 out of 10. They just didn't get it. But the actuality was a fucking 15 out of 10. Like what he introduced was like, that's where like people like us are like losing our shit. We're like, oh my God, this is massive. And like we're looking around and people just don't get it. It feels like you're just like, I'm like, am I stupid? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Am I on an island by myself? Like, where's
Yeah.
everyone?
I mean,
Yeah,
they
it's
not
so
only
true.
announced they're going to make batteries, they also announced they're making batteries that kick the shit out of everything that's ever been made.
And
And
Yeah.
and I
then
think what helped us is like, so after Battery Day, Eli and I had a little get together with all of our favorite friends in the community. So like,
including the boss,
imagine
come on.
all the, yeah, imagine all the 11 and 12 out of 10s all in the same,
You were there.
yeah. So like socially distanced and all that. We had our masks on, but like, imagine everybody that understands this stuff right after, while everything is fresh in our mind, talking about all this. Like
Right.
that's why I looked around. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I did understand it. It is a 15 out of 10. Like I don't understand why. Like the next day, like Eli, you called it, dude. The market, like the stock price dropped 5%. People were just like,
10.
yeah,
So
10%.
sad.
Okay. It's just people couldn't add 1+1.
Yeah. It's so crazy. I feel like a good analogy is like Elon's starting the marathon and he's showing people like he's like, look at these shoes, like they're amazing, they're making me run faster. And he's like, if you actually want to compete against me, you might want to go get these shoes. Like because we've invested in all the materials and we own the company. You might want to get going on
We
it.
spent 5
Like,
years and $1 billion in R&D to come up with all this. And by the way, here's the direction you need to head in. You're going to have to figure out a lot of things yourself, but we can at least tell you where to run. Any companies out there right
right.
now who saw this, or any investors who are like, holy shit, we need to go put in the money to like build a company, they're going to be successful. And from what he said is like, look, there's a lot of inertia behind the existing battery industry. So they can't just
Yes.
chase these things. And I think Gally talked about that too. But I think there's a lot of
Mm.
exciting stuff ahead of us. Guys, we'll start with you, K10. Any final thoughts on this episode, on our post-Battery Day recap?
There is more to say than we have time to talk about. Like we were saying, there's so much to unpack with all of it. It's very exciting, and I think the industry obviously is paying attention, but I hope the average Joe catches on. It's exciting.
And Beck, what about you?
I think one thing that I don't know if everybody picked up on this is when you're making a bigger battery cell, like when we're going from the 2170s to the 4680s, it's actually a video that I saw. I think Gally or somebody did a video. Oh no, it was
Probably
no,
the
who's
limited factor,
no,
the
no,
limiting
no.
factor.
Who the guy Sandy Monroe. Sandy
Yes.
Monroe like basically he kind of like mimicked what that would look like if you put a bunch of 4680 cells in there. The weight
Oh yeah.
reduction for the same square footage space where you can put a 73 kilowatt hour, 74 kilowatt hour battery, you can put 130 something.
Yes.
Like that's the like less weight, less cost,
Yes.
more power, more range, but like a 30-40% increase. Like, are you shitting me? Like, that's the only thing that I was just like, I'm like, yeah, that's it right there. Like, that's the meat of it. That's like the most important part. Like, I was surprised that people didn't get it.
And even the factory, the ability to make because it's dry and it's not wet, it cuts down on the
Yep.
amount of factory they have to
Square
use. So
footage
it's
is
so much more
reduced by
efficient.
10x or something, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's
massive as well.
huge.
What
Yeah.
Tesla has done here, what they announced was the ultimate accomplishment of engineering, which is bigger, better, faster, smaller, and cheaper. And what it's going to mean for the future of energy. I mean, like, by the way, they just talked about it for cars. You know what this is
Yep.
going to mean for battery storage, for grid, for home solar? I mean, like, the disruption that is coming from battery, like, big oil is over. Like, we're now going
Yes.
to be entering the age, as people catch on, of big battery. I'm just shocked. Like, honestly, when I saw the run up that happened in Tesla stock the last year, of them basically going 10x in like 9 months, I was like, oh my God, how is this even sustainable? And I see Battery Day happen, and I'm like, oh my God, like how, like This is going to be one of the biggest meteoric. And by the way, we're not financial advisors, but I'm just looking at this as like somebody who's a fan watching this. And I'm like, this is like the biggest meteoric rise I think we've ever seen of an engineering force on this planet. And I think at this point, like the writing is just on the wall. Like the hard work has been done. And Elon talked about they still have stuff left to go. But like the fact that they really went first principles and rethought the problem from the ground up and what they need to achieve, got rid of all existing assumptions and said, how do we get bigger, better, faster, stronger? And Yanmar Beck, you nailed it. There was no super alien technology innovation. It was improvements across the board from design to materials, to components, to this tab thing that we used to have that caused a huge thermal problem. We're going to remove it, and we're going to figure out how to do that. They just went base level and made a bunch of small improvements effectively that net resulted into a completely game-changing technology that I think this is like this battery, I think is one of the true pinnacles of innovation. And very much so, this right here is the death of the internal combustion engine. And I got to say, I'm thrilled to have been there live to like not understand it at the time that it happened, but at least to see that go down because like we look at the death of the gas car in 10 years and you know, California has already banned them by 2035 and Europe's doing 2030 and China's doing the same thing. This was the final moment where it was the end date was now set. So I got to say that was so incredibly cool to see.
Yeah. Good recap.
Thank you. K10, thank you so much for joining us as our guest on this week's episode for the battery recap of the Tesla Geek Show. To everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us, and we can't wait to see you next time.